I'm old. I have problems working this phone, y'all. Okay, it is 3:27, and I know that as soon as I start this, that my daughter and her fiance will probably get back from the hospital, and I'll have to stop this pretty quickly, or you'll hear them in the background. But I wanted to come on and tell everybody, that yes, my grandbaby was born yesterday. She's beautiful, and she was a chunk. She was 8 pounds 4 ounces. Hey, Denise. She was a chunk. So, grandbaby is here, and mom and baby are doing well. And my daughter and her fiance came up from Georgia to visit in Oogle. I put Joe straight to work trying to fix the put together and fix and check the wiring on the big swing that I bought. So he's already had to pull uncle duty. he didn't think he was going to get out of that at all for a second. So we've already had a big day. I have not slept a lot, as you can tell from my face, but we had a little bit of a scare there at the very beginning because she decided she wanted to come into the world face up because she's probably like me and just thinks she has to see everything. And she got some fluid in her lungs, and so scared us for a little while. She had to be on some oxygen and some machines to make sure that the fluid got out of her lungs. But by the time I had gotten down there, she had already cleared up, was off the oxygen, and was doing great. And her 24-hour scores were awesome. And like I said, she was 8 pounds 4 ounces, so she was a whopper. As for as tiny as Kaylee is, I'm amazed she had such a big baby. So it's been a very eventful last couple of days here in our world, but it's well worth it. And now I've got a house full because everybody's come up to visit. Once they go home, Kaylee is, like I said, they're old school. They're going to go home and do, maybe 10, 12 days of isolation at home, just acclimating her to home, the sounds, the noises, germs, dog, and Che's already been around, my grandpuppy, Che Tech. He's already been around babies. He's really good with babies. So we just, they just want to have time to bond as a family without being harassed by visitors and stuff, which I think is great. I was fortunate enough that I lived on a 75-acre cattle farm 4.5 miles on a bluff trail when I had my babies. So I didn't have a whole lot of visitors after the hospital. And I enjoyed that because it meant that I could nap when I needed to nap and I didn't have unexpected knocks on the door. So I think this is a really good idea. I support them 110%. Even Mimi will not be over unless they call and ask for me to be over, because that's going to be their time to bond as a family. And I respect that. So that's where we are. I was down yesterday. Kim took me. Kim is my ride or die. And so she took me yesterday because she knew my nerves were frazzled, and she knew that between driving and the hike into the hospital, it would probably be a bit much for me. And they all worry if I'm going to make it back with my legs. And so she just took me down there, and we had a big time with it. As you can see, we need supervision anytime we go anywhere together. Y'all didn't get the really interesting parts of the conversations. I would like to get her on more of my videos, and maybe now since she's finally broken the barrier, she will be in more of my videos. But she is literally one. I have two people that are super close to me, that I adore immensely. And I've got one friend that moved back to Ohio just recently, and it's been hard not having her here for all this because she's been an auntie to my kids her whole life. And so it's been, we're acclimating to our new family unit, and we've had a lot of change the last couple of years, but we're making it work. So, but we had a great time yesterday, and it was. I never understood, because everybody was like, oh, grandkids are so different. And I never understood how different, until you have one of your own. And then the whole world opens up. I will say, though, and I'm working on a fur dangle earring. When I was there at the hospital and I was talking to the nurse, because the nurse was sweet enough to let us go in one at a time with Lane to see her in the nursery for just a few minutes because she had to stay on all the monitoring devices. And the nurse looked at me when I said, "Thank you so much for being such a great nurse." I said, "I'm so glad they've had such great nurses." And the nurse looked at me and she said, "Your son has not left her side, has brought her everything she needs, has catered her 110%, has put her first." She said, "A matter of fact, I had to bring him ice water and say, 'Drink this, boy. I've not seen you eat or drink since you've been here.'" She said, "All the nurses are smitten with him, and we all wish that every new mama had a husband like that." And I was like, that made me feel good because I raised that boy. And that it's nice to see that even though he came out of a home that did not have the best first beginning in marriage, you know, once he got David, you know, once David adopted and they saw what a daddy was supposed to be, by golly, they picked it right up, and he has been the perfect example of what he was supposed to be in the hospital. And I was so thankful. I told that nurse, I said, "Thank you so much." I said, "That made my day." I said, "I'm so glad." I said, "that people see," I said, "how much work I put into my kids." And she was like, "Oh," she's like, "we all adore him." She's like, "All the nurses are smitten with him." So I was very proud of my son. Very proud of my son. Kaylee looks amazing. I don't know how that tiny young woman had an 8-pound, 4-ounce baby. I don't know how she did it. But she did, and she did it quite well. Hi, music. And so everybody's great. The baby looks just like Lane, except for she's got mama's eyes, and she was a little swollen when I first got there, but by the time she unswelled, you were starting to see a lot of the definition, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just like staring at Lane. She's got Lane's nose. So she's going to be a sweetie pie. I can't share any pictures. I have to respect their wishes. I can't share any pictures. But I think I'll probably be able to share some of the maternity photos that I took with you all now since she's given birth. And so I may try to do that. But it's been a very busy last couple of days. And I'm glad that the nerve-wracking part is over. The delivery is always what worries me. I've delivered so much livestock in my days, and I've seen everything happen and occur. And so when you work in the farm life, and so you know all the bad things that can happen, and so your mind just automatically, you can't stop it from worrying. And so you can ask my husband, I was a nervous wreck the last few days because they were over here the night before her water broke and that baby was just kicking up a storm. And I leaned in and I said, "Ellie, move south. Come on out, honey," because I knew she was getting irritated with such small space. And sure enough, the next morning her water broke. But I knew it was going to be soon, and I had just been a nervous wreck. So I am a protective woman by nature, and so when I saw all that, I knew she was going to be here soon, and my mind just began to wonder, and I spent like the last 2 days just absolutely in prayer. I mean, that's just where I've been. I've just been in constant prayer. So she scared us there for a minute. And then after she came out and she had got some fluid in her lungs, then she kept wanting to hold her breath because she was like, "Wait, I'm not supposed to breathe this. I'm holding my breath." And so she freaked the doctors out. So she was holding her breath. But she's doing great now. And she's so pretty. She does have dark hair, but I see a little bit of a red cast to it, just a little bit. So I'm thinking it might lighten up just a hair. But she's beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. And she's got Kaylee's eyes because they slant up like her mama's. Lane's are like mine, and they just kind of go, but they slant up. She's beautiful, and she's a chunk. So she's just beautiful. So thank you, CDC. You're all gonna have to call me Mimi Liz now, aren't you? Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. Yeah, oh my goodness. I was amazed. I had 7 pound babies, 7 pounds, 5 ounces, 7 pounds, half an ounce. So, and I thought that was a great size. That was plenty for me, you know. And so with Kaylee being so tiny, I thought, okay, well, she won't have a super gigantic baby. She was also a twin and she's got a petite frame. So I thought, we won't see a gigantic baby. She's a big baby. She's a big baby. So, um, and I completely went into like Mimi Mo when I was talking to her, just the same way I talk to the cats. If you've ever seen the parrot video of the mama parrot going, I love the babies. You know, it's time to feed the babies. I love the babies. I started talking to my cats like that purely to irritate everyone here. And I immediately started talking to that baby like that yesterday. And Lane just looked at me and I was like, I'm sorry, it's sticking. I can't help it. So, but she's precious. And my father, if you look on the thing where I said the community post where I said I'm officially a Mimi, and that my daughter-in-law did a beautiful job and posted that picture, my dad has registered to YouTube so he can comment on my page, and he's already looking for a pony. Now, my dad is a retired blacksmith and preacher, so, you know, he shod horses for the majority of his life. He's already on the hunt for a pony. And I was like, well, that's the role he plays. We had a pony growing up named Debbie. And when we showed her, her show name was My Little Debbie. My kids had a little saddle pony named Sunshine that they showed when they were tiny, like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, on their own. And so now he's determined that Ellie will have her own pony as well. And of course, you know, he's got the big cattle farm and all the contacts. So I'm sure he will find a pony somewhere and it will be split between his pasture and my barn lot. It's just what he does. So, oh, thank you. We're very blessed, you know. And we had to work on our family. Our family has not always been this even keel and this blessed. We had to work on it. We went through some years of some hard struggle, and had to focus on creating better boundaries with each other and getting through some stuff. And now we finally have a relationship that I really am just so thankful for. So it takes a lot of work, y'all. It takes a lot of work. And sometimes it's painful work, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. So, but my father has registered to my YouTube page. So I thought that was great. If y'all want to go say hi to him, he's under the community post where I said I'm officially a Mimi. Imperfection is perfection. That's what I say. Perfection is really not attainable, but I am so super, really happy about the relationship we all have now. Oh, you're 3 weeks overdue. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a whopper of a baby too. So, okay, this is what I made just then while I was talking to y'all so I've got just a coyote fur dangle with a leather backing on it. I've got 2 tiger's eye beads, and then I've just got a really thin wire wrapped to a Lewis hook. And so if someone wanted to wear that, it would look like that. And I mean, I think it looks a lot like the feather stuff that people used to wear. I would totally wear it. And so I'm going to make one of each. I'm going to make a coyote, I'm going to make a raccoon, and then I'm going to make a beaver pair. And we're going to see if they sell. But they do have real gemstones on them. Oh, really? Wow. Denise is so on top of everything for me. Thank you, Denise. And I was so appreciative because yesterday one of the first people to check on me and her was Peter Freestone, bless his heart. Because we've both been on baby watch on different sides of the world. And that's about all I can say about that. But so he started checking on me again. He was like, I know, she's due any day. Did she hear yet? Did she hear yet? And he was the first one to check on her. It was so great. C-section. Well, hey, I don't blame anybody for that. I had 2 natural, and I spent over like 40-something hours in labor. And let me tell you, I remind my children when they're little turds how long it took for me to bring them into the world. And that I don't appreciate many belligerents. But the nurses were super sweet, and I was so impressed when they commented on Lane's behavior, and they were like, "How did you raise such a respectful young man?" And I kind of laughed, and I was like, "Well, I was a parole officer when he was in his formative years, and fear is an excellent motivator." And they just laughed at me. So I had a really good time with the nurses, and got to visit with a lot of Kaylee's family and friends that I don't often get to see because I'm always home. So it was really nice to see everybody. And of course, everywhere I go, I get stopped in hallways and in elevators, and I have 5,000 questions about my tattoos. So I had to go through all the tattoo questions as well. But it was a good trip out. I hadn't been out in a long time, and Kim kind of broke me out and took me so that I wouldn't have to go alone because my legs do scare me when I go places alone. They scare me. Thank you, Thang. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for all your kind words. I really appreciate you. Thought doctors get paid to tell you a lot of stuff you already know that you could deal with probably on your own too. I have to educate them about my disorder for them to then tell them how to treat me, for them to then bill me thousands of dollars. And it's like, something doesn't feel right here. I need to buy stock in Vaseline. Because I don't appreciate a lot of the doctors, and but she had great nurses, and I'm so glad she had great nurses. And babies are precious, and people. I mean, I tell you what, people don't understand how precarious Mother Nature can be sometimes when you are packing a baby. I had a friend pack one full term and then have a stillbirth, and they never could figure out what was wrong. And that was one of the most devastating things that I went through with her. And and so, and of course, I used to take care of a massive pastorale farm and all the mares and foal. I used to breed them, take care of the studs, and take care of the mares and foal. And so I'd babysit them, stay all night with them, watch the monitors in the office, call the vet. I'd be the first one the vet would talk to. And I would have to wait. I would have to be there and wait for the vet to show up and basically do everything until the vet got there. And, and I've seen some bad things happen that were unexpected and from mares that had pregnancies that had been perfection. And so it just because I have been in that world and handled so many things that have labored, you always worry. And I try to keep my worries to myself, but that's just who I am. So I literally have prayed nonstop for the last several days. And I had faith that everything would work out, but I'm human and my brain goes the wrong direction and I have to rein it back in. And then I have to ask the Lord to forgive me for being a stupid human and doubting him, because that's how I feel when it all gets over with. Yeah, Misfit, I'm back. There are days that I get disappointed with humanity and disappointed, and I will absolutely tell y'all where I am emotionally. And I do have a Brighteon channel, and I may start posting more stuff over there. I'm not going to let people truly run me off, but I really am thirsty for a very good channel, and where they really are creating a platform of discussion and open minds. And I don't think I'm ever going to find it. I just don't think that's the way our world is made right now. And I don't think that's the way people are thinking right now. And that's sad. But all I can do is keep bringing, everybody's attention to it and saying, hey, we need to work on this crap. Because something, if you continue to let evil win, evil is going to keep multiplying. Do you know how you stop evil? You start being positive, and you start making sure that you're bringing positivity into the world. And so I'm really wanting the world to get back to a more positive space. And so that's my fight right now. Is people are looking at this world going, how do we change this? How do we change this? We change it one interaction at a time. It's okay, Nano. I'm just basically brain vomiting today. But we change the world one interaction at a time. Annette, I've never in my life could have ever explained what I feel for this grandbaby already. It is a whole different ball game than children. And for all of y'all that have tried to prep me for that, thank you. Because I was expecting it to hit and it hit, and y'all were absolutely right. So this is what I've just made: tiger's eye beads on little wire with Lewis back hooks. These are the Cody's. They've got seal back leather to cover the rawhide on the back. So that's what I've made. And I'm going to sit here and try to do some with some pretty filigree wrapping, if my hands will let me. Nana, you're right. Yeah, your heart like grows somehow. It's just really strange. Oh, Miss Fit, I normally after I get frustrated and go and then sleep on it, I wake up and I move on. That's just how I am. But I will always tell you all 100% honestly what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and where I'm at, because that's what's missing in this world today is honest communication. Everybody is only showing a certain side of themselves or a certain behavior, or they're editing their life to be something that is fiction, and we can't do that. And we have to start telling each other the truth, start interacting truthfully, and we have to start interacting positively, and we have to bring the energy level, the vibration back up in this world. We have to realize that we are in control of our behavior, our energy, our interactions, and that our bodies release electricity. If you've never heard of piezoelectricity, you should really Google it and get to understand it. Our bodies are just circuit boards with electricity. That's really what we are. And the more I read about the circuit board of the body, the more I understand how it is even hackable. And that worries the crap out of me because, as you can tell, a lot of places are starting to talk about DNA being sold and certain ways that DNA can be used against us. And so I'm just like, okay, I've read all of this. It scares me. And so for me, I just want to get on here and be like, hey, people, be aware, understand your body, understand how it works, understand that what you generate from your body does affect other people and it affects you, and that you have the ability to create the energy around you that you need, deserve, and desire. And maybe we can all start creating more positive stuff, and we can put a boundary out for the negative stuff. And if we would start doing that, we might see a shift in society. I really think it is. I really think it is the way that we're going to overcome the negativity. But, today's buzzword is piezoelectricity. So go Google and do some homework on that. You'll be amazed what you find. So I just wanted to come on here and say howdy. I am trying to do a few things today while Haley and Joe went to visit the baby. They should be back soon. And then I'm going to take a quick rest and make a big dinner for everybody. So everybody came up from Georgia, southern Georgia. And so we've just been running the roads, and now I've got a house full, and I'm just trying to enjoy having everybody home. But I just wanted to say howdy and thank y'all for the prayers and the positive energy. And I'm glad that y'all enjoyed my stupid video I shared yesterday, because I was literally nervous as I mean, I was nervous as a 50-pound snapping turtle crossing the road after a rain. I mean, I was just nervous, but I was also giddy because I had faith everything was going to work out, but I could not wait to put my eyes on her. So I was just so happy to get down there, and so blessed to have a friend that was like, load up, we're going. And she had run the roads all day, and she still took me down there. Bless her heart. DNA. It's like, why do you need to know that? I mean, that's something, genealogy and something. You can look that up. You can do the hard way and look that up, and it's actually more rewarding. I think a lot of that is due to what can be done with that. Because the 23andMe was now sold to BlackRock, and so therefore all the protections over it are no more. So everybody's DNA is now out there that can be sold, used to be manipulated. And y'all be aware of this. Be aware what you have and what you have within you and what your body generates, because it generates electricity. is precious. They know it's precious because they want you to swab it and send it to them. It's about time we realize it's precious too, don't you think? Don't you think? You ever noticed how energy changes a room? You ever know how group energy changes a society? You ever know? You ever notice how powerful people think that they can set the doctrine, but in history it's always been the groups of people that have really challenged the status quo? That is called energy. That is called will. That is called something we intrinsically have. And I wonder, with this DNA cell and stuff, if that is something that can be manipulated, augmented, or changed. Because I have, the more I do study on the human body, and I have a great friend that is super educated, the more I understand we are basically circuit boards ourselves, energy-ridden circuit boards with information that can be augmented, taken away, obtained. So I'm kind of like, whoa, that is scary. So I've been learning a lot about piezoelectricity and the human biofield. And those are normally ugly words that will get you in trouble in most places. But those are two words that you all need to be looking into, because I think that is something where we're going. And it's just my opinion. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not trying to give you any advice, blah, blah, blah. But I just think if you need to be educated, those are two things you should be educated upon. Well, the thing is, not every human has submitted DNA, but if anyone related to you has submitted DNA, then they by default have your DNA as well, because it's linked. That one thread that goes through you all means that they can access all of that. So that's what's truly scary, is that if they got just enough to give samples, they have a lot of the population. The minimal guesswork after that they can do. So, I used to type homozygous studs and mares for if they see if they were Overo, Tovero, Tobiano, to see if they would have bald face, blue eyes. We would take hair root samples and even blood, send them in. They would say if they were heterozygous, homozygous, and then we would match them to mares to where we could basically pick the fold we wanted, so that it would be sorrel, Overo, with blue eyes, or it could be a tricolor paint with a lot of white. They could pick their foal. And I was like 17 to 21 when I was doing all this. And I thought, man, if they can do this, what else can they do? Because, if they're selling this capability with money, they've got to have a lot more that they're not allowing people to handle. So I was young and I grew up with a healthy skepticism on everything. So I was just like, question. I am the elephant in Tarzan. Is this water sanitary? Is this a good idea? Do you all see what they're doing? That's the role I play in life. So I had questions, and I do a lot of research. I do a lot of research on stuff that would probably blow a lot of y'all's minds. The last year, I've had a friend that's gotten me into runes and trying to read runes and decipher runes. And I've seen where runes are being brought back into symbolism in the modern world. And it's like, and all of this is for a reason. All this is for a reason. I just have to figure out the goddamn reason. But I think that's something that we're all going to have to work together and figure out. So, well, Miss Ben, I'm happy you stayed around too. I normally am very boring, but every once in a while I step my little pitties in a controversy and so, but as you all know, I backed Ron. I don't ever agree with him 100% because you don't ever agree with anyone 100%, but I will always back Ron because his brain works in great ways, and we need every brain clicking and every option on the table so that we can look at things with the biggest pile of information and then start sifting. And other people that want to throw out information and say, no, it doesn't belong, those are the people that don't want to know the truth. Those are the people that want to control the storyline. So always look for people that dump everything on the table and say, hey, it's all Bible, let's dig. Because those are the people that are going to let you find honest truth. So I really appreciate Ron and all the work he's done because his brain clicks. So, he has harnessed his ADHD. I wish he could teach a class and talk to other children that are struggling with harnessing theirs, because it's amazing. He does amazing things. And he knows that I think he's amazing. And he knows my thoughts on this. We were able to chit chat for a minute on Insta the other night. He knows where I am on this case. He knows where he is on this case. We share some concerns. Other places we part and go different ways. But he's very wise. very wise. Horse breeding is not simple, and Betty, I mean, they can actually basically especially when they made the delineation between paint and then grade mares in the paint world, and then you started having to do the blood work and really getting picky about the color schemes and the bald faces, and they started slipping about how much DNA monitoring and twisting and that they could do. And I was the one taking all the samples for these big massive barns and mailing them in, and I was like, oh, they can do this. And then, I've always seen them basically manufacture cattle. I've seen them split Santa Gertrudis with Beefmaster with a little bit of Brahma and work for 20 years to create this calf. But then I've watched a farmer literally send in enough money to basically have a test tube baby created and implanted so he didn't have to wait 20 years to generate that mix that he needed. And I was just like, if they're doing this with livestock, what are they doing with humanity? That's where my brain went. That's who I am. So I grew up in a lot of very ritzy organizations, livestock organizations. And my father was part of a lot because he was a very sought after blacksmith, and he was in a lot of ritzy organizations. And Betty, let me tell you, I saw a lot of stuff that was like, oh, okay, what are we doing with people if we're doing this with animals? What are we doing with people? So I question everything. And that's what I ask you to do too. Even whatever you hear from me, question it. Question everything. Question anything you hear from anybody. Do your own research. Never believe anyone, even me. Question it all. Do your own research and make your own assumptions and your own findings, because it's the only way to be in life. The only way. I will come on here and tell you my interpretation and my truth and my honesty, but I also know that your interpretation, it's going to be different than mine. And that's healthy. That's another thing our society has gotten away from. We don't have a healthy dash of difference. So we've got to change this world. It's only going to change with positive energy, positive interactions, and us staying on a high vibration and absolutely working our butts off to make sure that we have positive interactions and that the world sees more good than bad. And we've got to stop broadcasting negative, because you know what that does? It just fuels evil. It just fuels evil. So we've got to work on that. Oh yeah, my daddy made a lot of money in his day. He was like, race horses would show up in shipment trailers in our front yard for him to repair whole hooves with kitty hair epoxy back in the 80s so that they could heal rather than be put down and grow a new hoof and protect their coffin bone and frog. And I mean, he was amazing. My dad is excellent at what he did. He was excellent. And there's a video back, several videos about what his body looks like now after all of that work. And I mean, he's paying for it now, but he was a true, he was just a surgeon at what he did. He was great. He could read a horse and the way it looked and the way it moved. And every time I would take my horses into halter classes, I would have him freshly shoe them because he could set them up so perfect. I mean, he could, if we had one shoulder that was a little over the other, or they like to stand with a little bit of swag in the back end, he could fix that. And so anytime I showed my paint gilding, I would go in and I would have him shoe him like the day before, the morning of, and he would go in with his beautiful new feet standing perfect, and I'd take home a blue ribbon every time. So piezoelectricity. And I believe it's, Lord, now that's one of those things. I had to Google it until it kind of picked up for me too. But I believe it's PIEZO, electricity. But Google it. And then Google the human biofield. You people are more powerful than you ever imagine. You know, the soul is a piece of energy that science has not quite understood yet, but they have harnessed the circuitry of the DNA and the energy that flows within our body. And you need to be aware of the studies they're doing, the programs they're going on, and how they're performing it and what they're actually looking for. And it scares me what I find sometimes. It terrifies me, but it's something that everybody needs to be looking at. They need to be aware. And I have one of those healthy, skeptical brains. I am the elephant from Tarzan. Are we sure we want to do this? So I will always tell you if I find something that's super weird, I will tell you about it. And I think that's super weird. So go look it up. Have a good read. Don't freak out. If you need to email me to talk about it, email me to talk about it. But don't freak out. But just start talking amongst your close friends about this. And then maybe branch out into government searches with those words, or research funding from those words, or variations of wide body area networks as pertaining to the human body. I think a lot of it is right smack in front of our faces, and we just need to put the words together and the intent together. I really think it's that simple sometimes. And I think they do it to hide it in plain sight a lot of times. But I think that they are so far advanced from what we think they are that we should probably all be digging and looking and being like, heck no, we don't need to go this way. That's just my opinion. And like I said, not a professional in this regard. I've just done some research that wigs me out. I did see this young man this morning on the news. Oh, what was his name? It was Christian something. Oh, fart. See, my brain works this way and then it just blanks. It was a young black man. He was speaking about BLM, and there are people suing BLM for false representation and for basically the theft of funds. And he was on Tucker Carlson of all places, and it popped up in my recommendeds, and I was like, okay, I'm going to watch that because it had I'll try to share the link in my community. He had the most honest and beautiful thought pattern about how we should be as a society. And I want to share that. Dave's home. And I watched it earlier, so it will be in my history. I will go back and share it. But I mean, I literally commented and was like, this is the most beautiful soul I have seen on the internet in ages. What he said was so beautiful and impactful. David's jarring the camera going to the fridge. Sorry. So David's had to work, so he's not been able to go down and see baby yet. But he's been eating up all the pictures and videos. He'll get her when she gets home. Fall in love. Maybe. He said maybe. Annette, I understand. That would be interesting for you to look into. There might be a reason for that. Denise, yep. Gypsy said, hey, Grandpa. So, okay, well, I will throw up that link on my community page so that you can visit that and watch that video, because I really thought what he said was probably the most poignant and beautiful and well-stated thing that had ever been said on that topic. And then I'm going to finish these earrings and work on a few other things and make some dinner. So, but thanks for checking in. Thanks for the positive thoughts, emails, messages. I really appreciate y'all. And we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming very, very soon. I'm just in Mimi land right now and really enjoying it. So I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.